What's up, fam? Hope everybody's doing fantastic out there. Today we are taking a look at a knife that I have been trying to get my hands on. I've been waiting to get my hands on for a little while, and I was finally able to pull the trigger on one, and I am so glad I have. So this is the Bestech Taipan James Lowe design. Honestly, my favorite James Lowe design. Quite honestly, I think this is my favorite Bestech. I believe this is the best Bestech that I have handled in quite a while, if not ever. I'm willing to put and say that I think this is one of, like I said, one of, if not the best knives that Bestech has put out. A absolutely phenomenal showing from these guys, and the execution and everything. This is, quite honestly, what Bestech is known for. These guys are known for putting out really high quality blades, and this one is certainly no exception. God, listen to that thing. It's got such a good sound to it. Has a ring. Front flipper is phenomenal. I mean, just the jimping is done well. Really great job on this knife. If that's all you came here for, if you just wanted to know if you should buy this knife, spoiler alert, buy it. There's 4 different versions. This is I guess you can call this the bougie version. This is the most expensive of them. That's why it took me a little while to get it, because this was one that I had to kind of wait for the right time on, because, like I said, it is the more expensive of the options there. Let's go ahead and talk about the knife a little bit. So we're looking at a 3.7 inch blade, 8.3 inches overall, and 3.9 ounces. So really nice specs there. Price tag on this one, as you see here, is $289. They do have 4 other, like I said, 3 other options. There is a plain titanium and a belt satin that is $272, and then they have a plain tie and stonewash, and then they bronze and PVD. Those are $255 each. Now they are using MagnaCut steel. Bestech runs their MagnaCut. I believe it's 63, or it's it's like 63 or 62 to 64, something like that. I'll put it up on the screen here. For whatever reason, it's not in my notes. I've been doing a bad job at keeping those notes here lately, it seems. But I recently got to unbox this knife, and I have just been absolutely in love with it. It carries incredibly well. It's fun to fidget with. It puts in work, because this thing slices like a dream. It is a 3/4 height, or I would call it a 3/4 height hollow grind. This one has the hand satin, which is just absolutely gorgeous. Again, super thin behind the edge. I'm talking insanely thin behind the edge. I mean, just like, I don't know, I might have to actually try to measure behind the edge on this thing. Let's go ahead and jump into our close-ups, and then we will talk about the knife more in depth. So this is they calling it the blue-black version. So you can see there, it's kind of got a almost like a stone-washed black anodization with the blue underneath it, or the blue anodization with the black underneath it. Really cool radial milling pattern here. Absolutely phenomenally well done. Borderline micro milling, it really is. It's nice and grippy. Feels great in the hand. I really have 0 issues with that. It is contoured and chamfered with the micro milling. Really well done. I believe we are looking at T8 hardware here all the way around. Half-length back spacer, and you have the kind of the color contrast there with the plain titanium on the back spacer. Kind of matches in with the blade and the hardware. Pocket clip has that same micro milling on it in an opposing radial pattern. Again, really nicely done, very nicely executed. A very short lock bar, which is very unusual. Typically you'll see the lock bar cutout come further down past these relief cuts, but in this case, they just didn't, which I think is really cool. Very well done. Again, kind of like that stylized look there. Really well done. Really nice size finger choil there as well. Go ahead and flip this knife open here. Actually, I forgot to check our centering first. Not that you really need to, but centering is spot on. A tip, you're not really going to be able to see it, but there you can see just how thin that knife gets. I mean, this thing is super duper. I'm going to try, hopefully I can get that to focus. Let's see, come on, focus. There's about the best I'm going to get. Yeah, I mean, that tip is stupid thin. The edge is just crazy, and this thing sounds so good. Lockup is perfect. Lock bar access is really, really well done. It's another one of those knives that just doesn't look like it has a ton of lock bar access, but it's really easy to get your thumb in there. It's just got just enough of a shelf there to grab your thumb. Really well done. Coming in, plunge grind is perfect. You have this kind of a modified Warncliffe sheepfooty blade. Really nice hand satin. Sorry, we're going to blind you there a little bit, but really, really beautifully hand satin. Bestech logo there on the knife. Flip around the backside. You've got the Magna Cut and then the James Lowe signature there. Well done blade window. Sharpening. I mean, it's Bestech, so the sharpening is going to be on point. Try to take a look at her tip here. Looks like that's done very well. And what's crazy is this knife looks like it has a very blunted tip, which it really does, because there's not a ton of tip there, because it's kind of skirts the lines of being a sheep's foot and a Warncliffe. But because this thing is so thin behind the edge, I mean, it's almost like it has a false edge up here at the tip. I mean, this thing is really thin out here. So it punctures just fine. I have no issues. It's opening packages and things like that without any issues. But then because it is that same design there, you're able to get in and do your utility cuts very, very, very well. Grip on the knife. It is a larger knife, and so you're looking at, like I said, just under 8.5 inches. But you can choke up on the knife, get right in here, and be right up on the blade, and then you have a ton of usable blade. Now this one in my hand, you do have a little bit hanging off when you are choked up, but when you get back down on the blade where the actual finger choil is, then you kind of realize where this knife is meant to be held. You do have the ability to choke up if you want to, but when you put it in this grip, it melts. It really does melt in the hand. I have no issues with that at all. Jimping is done very, very well. It does put you a little bit away from the edge, but again, you have really good control. And if you need to get better control, you can go into that kind of a modified pinch grip there to do your utility cuts. And again, because you have this kind of a swooping edge, you do have that ability to do those utility cuts without any issues. I mean, you can see, you've got, you don't have to rotate your wrist very far at all to get that tip down where you need it. And because you have these chamfered spots here, right here, that gives you really nice. Now, if you want to get up closer, you can get right up on the edge. If you want to do it like an actual, pinch grip, you can certainly do that. As Cole says, pinch grip all day, baby. But it's very comfortable. I think, like I said, I really do think this is Bestech's best knife, at least in their current offerings. I have no issue saying that this is their best knife that they currently offer. Really, hands down, this is really, really well done. Just a really great design by James. A more subdued design from him, but at the same time, it has some wild lines and some wild ideas behind it that kind of let you know that it is a low design. Front flipper works really well. This is one of those ones where it's good enough to where, because he has the jimping that runs all the way around it, for those folks that can do the reach around with these bigger knives, you're going to be able to come up here and grab that without any issues. I don't think I can do it. I'm not even going to try. I'll end up throwing the knife across the room. But reverse flicks it so well. I think I can. Yeah, I can thumb flick this one. Actually, it was incredibly easy, which is really unusual for a thumb hole knife. I usually, especially frame locks, I usually can't do that. But I guess because of how this lock is done, it's actually pretty easy. You can slow roll it very nicely. You just get out on the tip out here on the cutout, and it just allows you to really break that detent quite easily for that slow roll. Zero issues with that. Again, fantastic job on this knife. I have zero complaints whatsoever. Let's go ahead and take a look at our hardware. That's all, folks. I believe we are looking at T8 hardware all the way around. Yeah. Yep, zero issues with that. Jump into our size comparisons. So this is going to be on the larger side of what we have out here on the table. So you'll see that most of your knives are going to be on the larger end. So we've got most of the knives we're comparing here are going to be on the smaller end. The Pyrite and the Penguin, both considerably smaller. Drop Bear, again, going to be more of the same. Get that lined up. Now the Minotaur is going to be pretty close, but it's still going to be a fairly smaller knife. So you can see that there. So you still got a considerable difference there on that overall length and on that blade length for sure. I believe this is going to be more of a PM2 size as far as the overall length is concerned, as far as the knife is concerned. Here we have the Bel Air and the Malibu. Two knives that break all of my rules for a knife, but I still love them both. You got one that's a flipper only and one that's crossbar lock, and there's still some favorites in the collection for sure, which is very, very odd for me. All right, now bringing in the PM2. So again, this is going to be a very close size comparison for the PM2. Actually, I think the overall length is a little bit longer on the Taipan, if I am quite honest, and the blade length is definitely where it's at. So the handles are fairly similar. This one has a little bit more blade, and maybe, I don't know, it might just be the way the Warncliffe on the PM2 goes down. But and then we have the MSI, which is still going to be larger than the Taipan. All right, well, that is all I've got on that. So I really am interested to know what your opinions are. I know one of the guys, I'll call you out, Jason. I know what your opinion is on this knife. You have a very similar opinion to mine. Matter of fact, I think I'm the reason you picked this knife up, because of getting to handle the prototype, and then I handled it at Blade Show. I was able to pretty handily say this was one of my top Bestechs, like we've discussed, and I think he went out and bought it that day. So it's always nice when my when my recommendations do well for folks. So let me know what y'all think about this knife in the comments down below. Like I said, I think James knocked this design out of the park. I wouldn't change a thing about it, quite honestly. It's a phenomenal knife. 10 out of 10 for me. So I appreciate each and every one of y'all. As always, please remember to be kind, be humble, and be EDC. Y'all take care.